Welcome to the Taped Podcast, the worst music podcast in the world. Not surprisingly, considering how
Yeah, no
all over the
surprise.
place our uploads are.
Yeah,
We are your hosts, myself, Michael.
and me, Miho.
Yeah,
Um,
we're a two-man team now, so there's been a few complications.
not all of which are permanent. Louis isn't here this week. He's traveling back home. So he has to step out of the ring for this episode, and um, David unfortunately had to retire from the podcast. See, he's in college, as are all of us, and we understand that this is a lot to ask of someone who's in college, and
Yeah,
we're brave. Like we don't have no fights, no anything.
no,
We peacefully parted ways.
yeah,
So
it's
thank you, David, for
this.
your time.
Yeah,
Uh,
this episode is dedicated to David.
yeah, the homie. We had a good run, 3 episodes. They were really fun.
Yeah,
The podcast will keep going as a threesome. I don't think we'll be inviting anyone
we
unless
won't
we,
have any
yeah,
we won't have any big brain intellectuals like Fantano joining the
yeah,
podcast or
no.
anything, so don't expect anything like that, although I'm hoping to having him on the podcast one day, maybe.
Yeah, we're open to guests, no more like full-time members.
Yeah, so it's just going to be a three-man team.
And so this is going to be the first episode of a series that is hopefully going to be weekly, where we look at 4 albums on the podcast, we dissect them, we talk about them, we review them, we give our thoughts and opinions. We'll usually keep it at one classic album and 3 new recent releases. And so, Michael,
Yeah,
do you want
this
to tell them what
yeah.
releases we're doing this week?
Okay, today's episode, the releases that we're going to be talking about are I Disagree by Poppy, You Can Never Have a Long Enough Head Start by Floral Tattoo, The Archer by Alexandra Savior, and The Queen is Dead by The Smiths.
Woo! So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll go through each of the albums, kind of talk about song by song briefly, then give our brief general thoughts on the album and our ratings for all the individual songs and the final rating for
final
the
rating.
album.
We're not going to be
Yeah,
rating them out of 100. We're going to be rating them out of 10 instead.
yeah, 10. Keep it simple.
Yep.
And at the end of the podcast, we'll announce the 4 albums, actually, 3 new ones, one classic that we'll be doing in next week's episode
Yeah.
with Louis.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, Louis, with you.
I don't know if he's listening. I don't know if he cares enough, but with Louis. And
Okay.
so, yeah,
Okay, beforehand, we'll just give a bit of a biography to each of the artists. So let's start with Poppy.
yeah. Poppy, as you may know her from YouTube, is an American actress, singer, songwriter, and YouTuber known for her work with director and musician Titanic Sinclair, which is recently that whole debacle ended. They're not making any more stuff together. This is their final project together, and it's in all, it's her third studio album, and it sees her commit fully to the heavy metal style that she experimented with on previous releases.
So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's just get into the project.
Yeah, track by track.
All right, opening track is Concrete. Now, in my opinion, I thought the instrumentation was brilliant. I thought it was well crafted, it was well made. I thought it sounded amazing. But the thing that kind of ruined the track for me a bit was the transitions to the pop sections. They all felt
Mm.
bit awkward and a bit forced, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is one of the better tracks. All in all, like I think the verses and like bubblegum pop chorus and bridge, kind of individually, were both well composed, well produced, well written. I just think the way they combine on the song is a bit awkward, and I don't think it just works that well together. Um,
Yeah, like
Lyrically,
going.
it's pretty. Um, like the lyrics aren't great on this whole project. I'm not gonna really hold that.
Yeah, that's like a theme throughout the whole
Yeah,
project.
I don't.
Lyrically, it's nonsensical and kind of
Mm,
dumb. Like, obviously, nowadays lyrics aren't important, but in this case, they're just, I don't know, not non-existent.
Yeah, so I'm not going to hold it against this one track in particular because this is a problem that I kind of see on the full album.
Yeah,
Lyrics are just a bit nonsensical.
yeah,
But I think this is an okay track. Once again, the chorus and verse didn't blend too well, but all in all, I think it's an okay track. A pretty good one, actually.
yeah. So I gave this track a 7.
I also gave it a 7.
Okay, next track was the title track. I Disagree. Was this the first single she released for the album, or
Honestly, couldn't tell you. Don't know.
you're not invested in the world of Poppy?
No, I was just looking at for the album release day. I wasn't really that invested that I was checking out the singles beforehand.
Yeah. So I like this track. I like the sinister vibe. I thought it was well produced. I thought it aesthetically was great. I thought Poppy was cool on the track, but there was just some bits that I didn't particularly enjoy, like the pop elements. Maybe they
Mm.
weren't that appealing to me.
Yeah, I thought this was a decent track. There were some definitely parts that didn't really strike a chord with me. The screaming vocals on this sounded awful,
Yeah,
almost grating to my ears.
yeah, that was a bit of a drag for
The
the
Japanese
track.
vocals were a bit out of nowhere and
Yeah,
weird. I didn't know how to feel about those, but nothing really
I suppose this is what she
too
thinks
offensive
metal
or bad
is.
about
It's
this track.
just,
It's just
oh yeah, loud and aggressive. Let's blend pop with it.
yeah, it just wasn't produced well. I don't think it sounded awful on the mix. But the track is okay, harmless.
I
I
I
think.
gave the track a 9.
Really,
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I gave it a 9.
I gave it a 6.
All
Want to
right.
explain 9 a bit?
I mean,
Is
I
that your highest
mostly
rating?
no, that's not my highest
Ah,
rating. Like
okay,
it's actually top 3 on the album for me.
really.
Yeah, the only thing that annoyed me was the background vocals, and that was it. I actually enjoyed the
Oh
track
yeah.
quite a bit.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Next
Next
track
track, yeah.
is Blood Money. Hitman Blood
Um,
Money.
my favorite track on the album.
Same.
The lyrics actually I quite enjoyed on this. I think they were fun. Like
Yeah, it was
genuinely sounded
aggressive.
aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Um,
aggressive. It was well structured. They had force behind it. The instrumentation, again,
mm,
it was fantastic.
yeah.
Especially the distortion, it added quite a lot to the track.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Poppy was great on the track. To be honest, it was definitely made for the best track in the album.
The instrumental sounded great on this. It sounded industrial, and I think a pretty decent performance from Poppy all in all. And I
Yeah,
would say this is my favorite song on this album.
yeah, definitely. I gave this one a 10.
I gave it a 7.
Okay, I could see
I'm
where
a
the
bit more
cynicism is
skeptical.
coming.
Yeah.
All right, next track is Anything Like Me. Now this
Um,
one, it it opens up like very like relaxing and kind of like slow, but then it just becomes one of the loudest tracks on the album.
yeah, to me, don't remember much about this track. It just seemed kind of chopped up weirdly, and I didn't mind the ending, but the whole track, all in all, I think was just chopped up a bit weird. It was all over the place. I don't think it was focused enough, and it just felt like it didn't know what it wanted to be in the end. I didn't think it was incredibly um, awful. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. It's just kind of whatever track for me.
Well, apparently I loved this track because I gave it a 10.
Oh.
I don't know why. I think I might have to re-listen to this album again. Like
One of us is a bit more optimistic about these.
I'm an optimistic listener anyway. You'll
Yeah, I try to be a bit more cynical.
But if there is genuinely bad music, I will criticize it.
Mm.
Like don't take me for a complete simp.
Yeah, so this podcast isn't just Michael going on about how Revival is the best Eminem album, while the
Fuck
rest of
off.
us kind of die inside.
What do you mean Relapse is the best Eminem album?
Fuck off. We don't talk about Eminem now. We're talking about Poppy.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to get into that conversation because
All
this
right, we'll
podcast
save
is
it
going to
for
go on.
another. We'll save it for another episode maybe.
We'll save it for when Louis here.
All right. Next track, "Filled the Crown." I thought it was pretty solid. Instrumentation was fine. Poppy was fine on this track, but I don't know. It just didn't really stand out to me that much on the track list.
Yeah, I agree. Don't have a lot of notes for this one. I just found this one to be a bit of a boring, almost a filler track. It didn't have some of the like power that some of the other tracks have.
Yeah,
Definitely didn't have the
it
memorability
wasn't
some of
as
some of the other tracks.
yeah, it wasn't as forceful as I
Mm,
would like it to be. Like it just felt a bit timid.
yeah,
Is that the phrase? So there's not much else really to say about it. It's
yeah,
just one of the more bland tracks in the album.
yeah. It was a
So
4 for me.
I gave it an 8.
Nothing I need. Next track.
I
Um,
liked this song. I like the relaxed instrumentation, and I thought Poppy singing was good. But again, it seems like kind of forgettable in all of the songs that came before it.
yeah, to me it was an okay track. The only really problem I had with it that kind of didn't seemed out of place on the album. It sounded like something that would have come off one of our previous albums. And I don't think it really blends in with the rest of the track list very well. Just kind of stands out like a sore thumb. But by itself, the
Yeah,
track is decent. It's nothing worth really complaining over.
yeah. Oh, you're breathing into the mic, by the way.
I'll stop breathing. Period.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I gave this track an 8. I actually liked it.
I gave it a 5.
But Jesus, the cynicism.
Oh god.
Next track, "Sit Stay." I thought it was one of the more bland and messier tracks on the album.
Well, I
I
thought it was quite decent.
like I I gave it a positive score. I liked the track, but I just thought it was kind of all over the place in some aspects.
Mm. Yeah, I thought it was a decent track. I thought it was very catchy, and I really liked the sound of the verses. They were very dancey. And but to me, it didn't really seem that much of a metal track. It was more of a industrial dance pop track than a metal track. But I definitely fit in on the album a bit more than the previous track to me. And
Fair
yeah, I thought
enough.
this was a decent track.
I gave this track a 7.
I gave it a 6.
All right. Next track, "Bite Your Teeth."
Quite
I
quite hard to do. That is.
Yeah, very hard to do. I can't even do it right now. I thought the instrumentation was good. The transitions again to the pop segments were very off, and I did not like the hook at
Mm.
all. I did not like the lyrics to the hook. They were just stupid, made no sense. I just didn't enjoy it that much.
Yeah, same with me. The hook. I really didn't enjoy the hook, but I think the verses are pretty much as hard as this album gets. I think they were great. The hook just didn't really stick with me. Didn't like it that much.
Yeah, it was kind of cringeworthy to be honest too.
Mm.
Especially the "bite your teeth." Like, what? What the fuck
Yeah,
does that
no,
even mean?
not
Ah,
one of my
it's
favorites.
confusing. Like,
Rating?
Jesus, I can't. Like, it's physically impossible.
Don't dwell on the like physics of the title too much. We have a
Okay,
podcast to get through.
okay, whatever. I gave this track a 7.
I gave it a 6.
Okay, next track, "Sick of the Sun." I thought it was one of the more mellow tracks in the album. I thought Poppy singing was pretty good, and again, the lyrics weren't anything to really take home about, but I thought it was a decent enough song.
I thought the track started really interesting with the almost shoegaze sounding instrumental, but as the track progressed, it just kind of went all over the place. There was a trap beat on this out of nowhere. That
Hmm.
really didn't rub me the right way. Uh,
Jesus
I
Christ!
don't
It
know
does
how to feel about a
like
trap beat being on a pop
does
metal
trap
album.
really need to be in everything? Like,
It's the same like hi-hat beat that's in every single song. It just doesn't sound right here. It sounds
can I,
like a bit of a joke.
yeah,
It really
I
didn't.
mean, can I just flat out say, trap is fucking boring. Why does it have to be everywhere?
And it's that fucking annoying hi-hat roll that like
Yeah,
you can't even replicate with a real fucking drum. It just sounds so cheap and It just sounds awful. I don't know
Back to what I
why
said
that
though.
became a thing.
Back to what I said though. Like most trap is boring, but there are good trap artists out there. They
Mm.
make it unique. But like using the most basic trap elements just kind of
Yeah,
ruin a song.
it's like
Like
using a fucking sample trap beat that they found on fucking, I don't
YouTube,
know.
they found it. They found
Yeah,
a type beat on YouTube. They decided
type
to use that
trap.
instead. Playboy Carti type beat.
It's just copy pasted off every trap song, and it has no place here.
Gucci Mane, what have you done to us?
Oh God, no. Um, Final
Yeah,
rating.
I gave it an 8.
I give it a 5.
Final track on I Disagree. Don't Go Outside. I did not like this track. I thought it was very
Me neither.
boring. I thought it
Yeah,
was the worst track on the album.
me too.
It did not need to be 6 minutes long.
Yeah, it was very underwhelming final track, and the verses just sound so bored. It sounds like Poppy's just fucking having a like just getting really tired from this album, and this is just her falling asleep. That's what this sounds like. The chorus guitars, I didn't really sound that good to me. The tone of them, they sounded a bit more alt rock than metal at times. The solo's just blown out of proportion. Doesn't sound good at all, in my opinion, and it's
Yeah,
just a very underwhelming closer to the whole album.
yeah. You think with an album that's supposed to be like based around metal, you would have had a really strong
Mm,
like epic like ending to this album, but no, we just got a fucking snoozer for the end.
yeah.
Fucking
Um,
hell.
yeah, least favorite track on the album for me as well. 4 out of 10.
I gave it a 6.
So overall rating,
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I give it a 5 out of 10.
Uh,
So final
like to be
thoughts.
honest, I would come back to this album for the instrumentation and how well done it was, and that's probably the only saving grace that this album has for me.
Mm.
But like, I liked it. I liked the blend of pop and metal. Like, I thought it was really cool, and it was a cool concept. And I thought, instrumental wise, it was done successfully. But the things that drag it down are Poppy's lyrics that don't really have much sense nor meaning to them, and just some of the tracks seemed a slight bit messy and didn't seem that all consistent. But overall, I liked the album. I gave it an 8 out of 10, and yeah, I could definitely come back to it some other time, maybe.
Yeah, for me it was a 5. It was a decent album. There's nothing like innately bad about it. It's just it dragged on a bit, even though it wasn't particularly long.
Literally 10
It,
songs.
yeah, it still seemed to drag. And I think her mix of bubblegum pop and industrial metal was definitely an interesting concept when she did it in small doses on some of her previous effort. But when it's the driving force behind the music, like it is on I Disagree, I just think it just falls flat and it kind of loses itself. I just think this album is all over the place, and it does shine on occasion. It just seems a bit lost in itself.
hmm
So that was I Disagree by Poppy. What
Next
album are we
up,
talking about next?
next is "You Can Never Have a Long Enough Head Start" by Floral Tattoo.
So Floral Tattoo is an emo shoegaze band from Washington, Seattle. This is their second studio album, and I couldn't find much information on the band really, but their Bandcamp describes them as music for trans people in the digital age.
And this is my first exposure to Floral Tattoo, and I was interested to see this how this would work. Considering the description you just gave, I thought it would be
Mm.
interesting to see how it would work out.
Yeah, the
Plus, this is
shoegaze emo mix.
plus I haven't really listened to much shoegaze, so I was interested.
Yeah, and I think this is pretty much my first, yeah, definitely my first full length album from these guys. I think I listened to a song or two from them because I think Anthony Fantano had them
Yeah, you
on
were mentioning.
his, yeah, review your music. I think I listened to one of the songs off their previous album on this after listening to that video. So, but this is my first proper exposure to them. First time I sat down, listened, dissected their music, and yeah, track one, Life in Color.
Well, Forward was the opener, but Life in Color is the first
Yeah,
official
but
track.
that's just a little opener. We're not going to talk about that in detail.
Okay, so Life in Color. I like this song. I thought the instrumentation was very good. It was great. I enjoyed most of it. The only thing that really kind of brought it down for me was just the spoken word. I thought it would kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say ruined it. I'd just say it kind of paused my enjoyment, you could say.
Mm. Um, I didn't mind the spoken word. It works in some places in music. Like I know Car Seat Headrest's song. Oh, what's that called?
Oh,
Something Humans. I forget. It's off their it's off Twin Fantasy, one of my favorite albums. Nervous Hearing Humans. That's the name. I think it can like on that track it could definitely like add a lot to the song and the song
yeah,
feel. I thought it was okay here. I thought they were going for a similar aesthetic as on that Twin Fantasy song, but I didn't think it sounded out of place really. I think the track in itself sounded very grand, very pleasant. I liked how the vocals were low in the mix and kind of take a back seat, and they allowed the guitars and drums to really explode. The guitars on this, I think, sounded amazing. I think they really made the track. They sound
yeah,
very
yeah.
like
The guitars were fantastic.
yeah,
But the thing you were saying about the vocals, I don't know. The vocals were kind of brought down for me as well. The way it was mixed, I don't know.
yeah. But it's a common theme with shoegaze where you have the vocals low in the mix to kind of let the
And
instrument shine.
like, I like when vocals can be manipulated and put in weird mixes. Like, that's one of the main reasons why I liked Igor. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I just felt it was a bit off here for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, but the guitars really make this track for me.
Yeah, the guitars were fantastic.
Ratings,
I gave it an 8.
I also give it an 8.
Yes, something we
Hell
can
yeah.
agree on.
Julius and
Next,
Ethel.
I like this song too. I thought the distorted guitars were a really nice touch. I really enjoyed the instrumentation in general. Again,
Hmm.
the problem for me on this track was the mixing was a bit off on the lead singer's vocals. That was just one of the only problems I had with the track in general.
Yeah, well, yeah, the vocals are also low in the mix on this track, but I think the nature of the instrumental allows them to be heard a bit more. I think the lyrics were great. I think they were very hopeful, pessimistic. Um, like I love that mix of hopeful and pessimistic. Um,
Yeah, it's like a state of confusion and what
yeah,
you want to feel.
yeah. Um, and the guitars, as usual, explode in like typical shoegaze fashion. I think they also sounded great. I think the song has a lot to offer. Great lyrics, great like guitars, instrumentals, and I think it's another great song.
Yeah,
Rating
I gave it an 8.
also an 8.
Yay,
Hell yeah,
consistency.
yeah.
All right. Next track is She. I thought the instrumentation is was good. Again, that's like the common theme throughout this album. Like,
Mm.
the instrumentation from this band are actually really good. But this one doesn't really stand out to me as much as the previous two tracks did.
Well, to me, I think this is the first standout track in the album. I think the guitar melody is just really fun from the get go. Gets the song moving. The lyrics are very vulnerable. They have a lot of character to them still, and I think once again the guitar kind of makes a lot of these songs. The song just sounds great to me. Um,
Hmm.
the melody is really catchy. I think it's an amazing track.
Okay, that's fair. Like, it's cool. Like,
Yeah,
I gave this track a 7.
my first 9 of the day.
Ooh, that's a doozy.
Dude, that's 9.
9.
All right, next track.
Our House. I thought it was a cool song. Didn't really stand out to me. That's all I really have
Hmm.
written in my notes.
Yeah, definitely not one of the standout tracks for me. Um, it's definitely more down tempo and quiet when it comes to the songs in this album.
Yeah.
Guitar first kind of starts kicking in before the song explodes for the chorus. Once again, shoegaze fashion, the song explodes during the chorus. But I do really like that guitar fuzz that kicks in before the chorus. I think
I
the
like
vocals
that.
sound.
I
Go
like
ahead.
that element of shoegaze where it's like all explosive around the chorus.
Yeah,
That's a cool element of shoegaze, to be honest.
yeah, and the vocals I think sound really good on this one. The lyrics are also good. Um,
Hmm.
Very textured outro as well. I like the outro. There was a lot going on, not to dissect, but I think all in all, it's not of the same quality as some of the previous tracks. But I still think it's a really good song.
Yeah, I
So
gave this track a 7.
I gave it a 7 as well.
Yay, back on track with the agreement.
Yeah, okay.
All right, next
um,
track is "Don't Try Things." It's a cool track.
oh no,
It's
I thought it was leaving.
wait, oh no, it is leaving. Oh shit,
Yeah.
sorry.
Mm.
It was a cool song. Instrumentation was great, but the problem was it's just very short.
Yeah, I like the way it starts with like a really groovy bass line, and for the first time really on this album, like the bass is higher up in the mix than the drums. You can like hear it more prominently. Um, but I don't think the lyrics or the vocals really suit the sound of the more like of the song as they do on the more like atmospheric tracks on this
Yeah,
album. I think they work better in that field. Um, Yeah, and the vocals once again are low in the mix like they are on all these tracks, but it does definitely sound a lot better on some of the other tracks. On this, it just sounds a bit awkward, and it does explode at the end, but it wasn't really as satisfying as some of the other tracks. It was a bit out of place.
yeah,
Kind of
you
an
can say
okay
that.
song,
Yeah, it
definitely
was.
far from a standout.
Yeah, but it was pretty decent. Like you
Mm.
have to admit, but like it was just too short. That was my only
Yeah,
issue with it.
very short as well.
Yeah, I gave "Leaving" a 7.
I gave it a 5.
Okay, next track, "Don't Try Things." Again, it's another very short track on the album. I'm assuming that it's about drugs. Say
Yeah,
like
that's what it seems
like
like.
which is actually kind of relatable growing up experimenting with all that kind of stuff and finding out what this is for the first time. I thought it was a nice like relatable sentiment to like
Mm,
how a normal person grows up. Like it's relatable,
yeah.
and I appreciate it for that aspect. The only problem with it is again it's a short track. There's I wish there was more time for it to actually like stand out, but
Hmm.
it is what it is.
Yeah, and I don't really. I think this might have been the least memorable track for me on the album. I don't really care much for the tone of the acoustic guitar. It's really high up in the mix, way higher than everything else. And the shouting vocals also don't really sound that great, being so low in the mix over the acoustic guitar. And yeah, it just wasn't really a memorable track for me.
Yeah. Okay, I gave this track a 7.
I gave it a 5.
All right. Next track is Reading Forest Fire and Fermi. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I thought this track was good. I really enjoyed this track. I thought it was fantastic, especially after the first half of the track. And
Hmm.
it was just a really nice, fun song.
Yeah, I feel like the song's kind of a return to the usual style, like the style of the first few songs. I think the lyrics are really thought provoking about how the vocalist is asking himself or herself if success is really what's worth it in the end and what life should be about. When at the end of the day, it won't save him from the quote unquote forest fire. Um, yeah, and it's
Like, what's the
very
what's the forest fire a metaphor for?
just that it won't like save you from the troubles of life. I feel like.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
um,
it's an interesting parallel between that and fame, considering
yeah.
like some of the greatest artists of our generation still have fucking have serious mental problems
Hmm.
going on, and nothing can really change that.
Yeah. Success
Yeah,
isn't everything. There's more to
eh,
life. And
exactly.
the song is quiet, I think, like really quiet until the outro. The
That's
outro,
what made it for me.
yeah, the outro has some spoken word lines in the background mix. It's very hard to make them out, and it's a bit awkward. I think that's the only really downside. That there is spoken word, but it just seems a bit awkward because you can't really understand any of it.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's a good track.
yeah. I gave this track an 8.
I gave it a 7.
All right. Next track is Danny B. Well.
Um,
It was a cool song. It was nice, but I just felt it was a bit one dimensional from what we got in some of the previous tracks.
I thought it was a great track. The vocals are really faint in the mix. It's almost impossible to make them out, but I don't think this takes anything away from the song. I think the guitar once again sounds great. The tone of the guitar is really really nice. Um, it doesn't explode as much as some of the previous songs on the album. It just kind of keeps the same guitar tone, and it just kind of adds more to it as the song goes on, rather than just opting for just distortion for the chorus, and then back to mellow and then distortion for the chorus. Um, I don't know who Danny is, but I hope he's okay.
Same.
Yeah,
Thoughts and prayers go out to Danny.
yeah, my homie.
Rip the homie.
Rating?
Okay, I gave it a 7.
I give it an 8.
Okay, next track, Julius and Ethel Part 2. Again, it was another very short track, but I thought it was a nice conclusion to the first part of the Julius and Ethel song.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I don't think there's that much to this song.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just an end to like what
yeah,
the previous like part of the song. Like
just a
it's
bit
not
of
really much to go by.
yeah. I'd give it a 5. It's okay.
I gave it a 7.
Mm. Okay, next track.
The Art of Moving On.
Um,
It, this one was one of my favorites on the album.
this was my favorite on the album.
Yeah, it was fast paced in terms of instrumentation. It was really lively. I thought it was really cool. The instrumentation was fantastic. Again, call credit to Floral Tattoo.
Yeah,
It was so good.
I love the lyrics on this. They're depressing yet they're like sentimental, looking back on your past and just realizing that you're not young anymore. You can just do what you want. Everyone has to grow up someday. The vocals I think sound really good in this. The lyrics are amazing in this. The guitar on this is just it stands out even among the other great guitar tracks.
Yeah,
I love the ending to the song. Like the guitar melody on that is so catchy. Like it's been stuck in my head for the last 2 weeks. I'd say
it's
just been humming it. I think
so
this is the
good.
best song on the album by far.
Yeah, it's definitely top 3 on the album for me.
Hmm.
I gave it an 8.
I give it a 9.
Nice. Next, final track, My Life Fell Apart This Year. And I thought it was a great outro track. It was,
Yeah,
it fit it fits for an ending to this album.
yeah, I agree. Um, I think it's a good ending to the album, but as a standalone song, I don't think it's that great in my opinion. It's a bit starts a bit sleepy and then just slowly builds up into this like one final breakdown for the end of the album. Um, the like it just keeps these long fuzzy synth lines throughout the song, and these like almost chant like lyrics kind of keep the song going until the end when the song like finally explodes and then drops back down to just a drum roll. I think it's a decent closing track, but as a track by itself, I wouldn't really go out my way to listen to it. It just
I
kind of
liked it.
yeah, it just kind of seems like just a closing track.
I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 6.
Okay, in conclusion, to summarize, You Can Never Have a Long Enough Head Start by Floral Tattoo. I liked it.
Uh,
I thought it was a pretty decent album. It was relatable, instrumentation was fantastic, especially the
mm,
guitar work. It had themes that can relate to a modern day like youth growing up in society. There's like themes of misguidance and honestly it's actually an interesting album in general. Like I could definitely like Floral Tattoo are definitely a band that I will keep my eye out for. They seem very interesting, and
hmm
yeah, I'm optimistic for the band because they're pretty young, so they have a lot of
Yeah,
room to grow.
yeah, they're definitely a band I'm gonna keep on my radar, and I'm a big fan of shoegaze, big fan of emo, my two favorite genres. Can't say I'm not a fan of this. I think this was a great album. I think the lyrics, typical emo fashion, are great, very sentimental, very confused. They kind of explore a lot of the themes of confusion that comes along with growing up in the 21st century and just finding out who you are and figuring out that you're not always going to be young. Um, It's
young
very
and evil.
musically diverse, explores a lot of things. Guitar is amazing on this. Instrumentally in general, I think it's great. It does have some parts of the album that aren't quite polished, but that band is definitely going up, and I feel like definitely a band to keep on your radar, and definitely a band that's going to improve over time.
Yeah, I gave this album a 7.
I also gave it a 7.
All right, so that concludes "You Can Never Have a Long Enough Head Start" by Floral Tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Next album, we're going to be doing "The Archer" by Alexandra Savior.
Yeah, so Alexandra Savior is an American singer-songwriter from Portland, Oregon. The Archer is her second studio album, and it's a dream pop indie rock album.
Yeah, there's not really much to go
Indie
on this
folk,
album.
rather. I
Yeah,
have the wrong genre down.
it's all right.
Yeah. Track 1.
Track 1, Self Currents, I thought was a really nice opener. It was beautiful, atmospheric, it was depressing. This one is basically about like depressing feelings on, you could say, a relationship or something like that. That
Yeah.
was a really, really nice, somber opening.
Yeah, it starts with this straight back, soft piano melody that sounds amazing, really emotional, and the vocals are very, very good, as they are on a lot of the songs in this album. But they just sound very like in your ear in the mix. They sound powerful, and it's just I think the song is basic, but it's like stripped back, but it's mixed really well. And the lyrics are also really emotional, and it's a recurring theme of this album. The lyrics seem to be about just a toxic relationship or a relationship going sour. And on this song, she kind of reminds herself that everything's okay, it's fine, kind of dismissing the negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a nice opener. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 9. I think this was my favorite song on the album.
Ooh, really? That's saying
Yeah,
something.
right off the bat.
Next track is Saving Grace. I thought it was a nice song. The guitars were really nice. I enjoyed them on the instruments, and I felt like there was a bit too much reverb on her vocals. In my opinion, it was kind of off-putting it to me.
No, I like that. I like the kind of guttural basic guitar riff that like kind of carries this track. I like the dubbing on the vocals. Like they kind of take a backseat in the mix. The guitar lick sounds really great in this, kind of very reverby, very like pleasant sounding, and I think it has definitely a different feel to track 1. This sounds a bit more aggressive, I might even say.
It sounds a bit more psychedelic, you
Yeah,
could say as well.
yeah, definitely.
Like I'm a fucker for psychedelic music as well, so
Mm,
this was really nice.
yeah, um,
I gave it an
very good
8.
track. 8 as well.
All right, next track, Crying All the Time. I like this track as well. This one lyrically focuses more about being in a toxic relationship. I thought that her vocals and instrumentation were very good. I enjoyed that whole aspect of it, and it's one that I actually came back to often after this album.
Mm. Um, I like the guitar riff and drums on this. It kind of has they kind of have this like swingy feel to them. It feels like the whole song is swaying from side to side. There's a very cool sounding synth melody on the bridge. I really like that. And all in all, I think it's a really well produced, layered track. There's a lot to this. Yeah, it's a really good track.
Yeah, I gave this one an 8.
I gave it a 7.
Next track is Howl. This one is my least favorite on the whole album.
I quite like this one. It heavily relies on synths throughout the song, unlike the previous tracks, and it's kind of carried by this strict back beat and like these like wailing synths that kind of give the track a very eerie feel.
I feel
Um,
like it was the synthy elements that brought it down for me, to be honest. Like,
well,
the vocals were
yeah,
fine, but like they don't really stand out to me. And this was kind of the point in the album where I started to draw comparisons to other female singers.
yeah, I can definitely see the comparisons. I don't think they really take away much from the album, but yeah, it's important to note that not
Yeah,
quite like
I
cutting
mean,
edge or
you can take influence from certain
yeah,
people,
and I
but
don't think
just
this yeah, I don't think this steals from anyone. It's definitely
No,
inspired by contemporaries, and I don't think that takes too much away from it. I think it's still
yeah.
a great album.
I
The
gave this.
contemporaries we're really talking about is Lana Del Rey, just to be clear.
Yeah,
I see a
yeah.
lot of comparisons, and I understand them, but I it's not a big deal. It's
I
not.
mean, to be fair, it's kind of unfair to say that
Yeah,
she sounds like Lana Del Rey because that's kind of a comparison that everybody makes to almost every
yeah, and it's not
like
like Lana Del
indie
Rey.
female singer.
It's not like Lana Del Rey invented this style. It's not like
She's just the
yeah,
most popular out of this style. That's it.
yeah. So
I gave this song a 6.
um I give it an 8. I really liked it.
Okay then. Next track is Send Her Back. Hmm,
Um,
Bar.
I also like the song. I don't think it was one of the most memorable in the album, but I did really like it. Has this very
Vocally
catchy.
again, it's very good. The horns are really nice
Yeah, the
additions to the
horns,
beat.
very catchy
Yeah,
melody.
but they just didn't really stand out to me that much. Like the track as a whole didn't. It just felt
Yeah,
very I don't know, but I don't know. It's hard to describe, but I thought it was decent,
yeah. I
but it
just
just
feel like
didn't stand out to me.
I just feel like on a worse album, it would have been a, a standout track, but um, it does kind of explore the same themes as some of the other tracks, but the brass melody and the kind of upbeat drums definitely are something that makes this track at least stand out a bit. But all in all, I think it's a really good track. Either way,
Yeah.
7 out of
Yeah.
10.
I gave it a 7 as well.
Can't Help Myself is the next track.
I thought instrumentally it was very good. Lyrically and vocally, I thought it was good, but this was the one where I noted that she did sound like Lana Del Rey, as much as I hate to say it.
Mm, yeah, I think I like the vocals on this. I think the instrumental sounds really carefree and breezy, and then the vocals and lyrics kind of sound more melancholy, and I think that contrasts really interestingly against each other. Once again, the song is still about the toxic relationship. It's a reoccurring theme in the album, and she's kind of talking about how there are still things about this relationship that allure her and keep her coming back, even if it's not for the best. And it has this. I like the contrast between kind of the upbeat instrumental and the melancholy lyrics. I think it's an interesting track.
Yeah, it's interesting, I suppose, but again, this one didn't really stand out to me as much. I
Hmm.
gave it a 7.
I give it a 7 as well.
Next track, The Phantom. I thought this track was a nice addition to the track list too. I thought the bass is
Yeah.
pretty groovy. The distorted guitars were very nice. The vocals were very good. I like that. The sound again was great, but I don't know. It didn't really stand out to me again.
I think that this was one of the standout tracks in the album for me. I like how the kind of high vocals are in front of the mix while they're complemented by like very low bassy vocals in the background of the mix. And I love the synth sample on the instrument. It almost sounds creepy to me. Like this whole song kind of has a very eerie vibe, which I think the title of the song is very fitting.
Mhm.
I think it's a really really great track.
Mhm. I gave this track a 7.
I gave it an 8.
The next track, Bad Disease. That's a very nice title.
Hmm.
I thought it was a cool track. The vocals were very nice. There was nice psychedelic instrumentation, but I just didn't really find this track very like totally appealing. I just thought it was kind of boring.
Yeah, I didn't realize I kind of used the same comparison on one of the poppy tracks, but this track just kind of seems a bit tired to me. I think it's still a good track, but in the grand scheme of the album, I don't think it has some of the life that the other tracks have.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I think it was still a good track.
Yeah, um, I gave it a 7.
Yep, 7.
Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this track.
Mhm.
Next track is "But You."
Um,
I thought it was nice instrumentally. Again, vocally, it had a lot to offer, and the horns were really nice as well on this track.
yeah, and I like the just high pitched synth sample in the song. I think the instrumental on this is really good, really well produced. The lyrics are good, kind of about how even after her ex is gone, she still longs for him, even though the relationship wasn't good in any way.
Yeah,
And
that could be
vocally,
relatable to some people.
yeah, vocally brilliant as per usual. So yeah,
Hmm.
7 out of 10 for me.
7 out of 10.
Hell yeah! Right, last track.
Final track, The Archer, the title track. Vocally, very good again. Instrumentally, it's nice. It's low key. The guitars were a really nice addition.
Mm.
But again, like I said before, it didn't really stand out to me, and I felt a bit bored of it.
I really like the stripped back instrumental. I like how the beat is made up kind of just a drum roll and a tambourine, and like the piano kind of travels up and down this minimalist beat throughout the song. All in all, I think the lyrics, the vocals, everything about the song is really pretty, and I
Hmm.
think it was a really good way, a really solid track to close off a really solid album.
Yeah. So I gave this track a 7.
I gave it an 8. Sorry.
Okay. So
So
overall scores.
Um, strong 7 for me. I think this is thus far my album of the year. It's
I
early
gave it
January though, so
I gave it a light 7. I like what Alexandra Savior was trying to do on this album. It was lyrically, instrumentally, and vocally had a lot to offer.
mhm.
But again, the problem was that it just sounded like a lot like contemporaries. Like that was one of the main takeaways that I had from this album. But I could definitely listen to a few of these tracks. Like the first 3 tracks were my favorites on the
Mhm.
whole album, and I could definitely return to those. But who knows? Maybe if I give it some time, it might grow on me. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think this is an album that's very much carried by its vocals, but it definitely has really strong instrumentation throughout. Um, Good concept to the lyrics, and all the songs kind of stay true to the same concept. I guess in a way, making this a concept album. Um, yes, I do understand the comparisons to contemporaries. I still do think that this album should kind of be regarded as its own entity. It's not like unforgivably similar. It's just has a similar style to stuff that's popular these days. And while yes, it's not incredibly cutting edge or original, it's still standalone is a very good album, and I think it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like artists like Lana Del Rey are similar.
Okay. Now that's
Um,
the new releases done. My favorite new release was probably I Disagree.
Mine was The Archer by Alexandra Savior.
Now it's time for the classic.
Ooh,
The Queen is Dead by the Smiths.
it's the third studio album from iconic British indie rock jangle pop outfit The Smiths, hailing from Manchester. It was released in 1986 and it is often regarded as one of the best albums of the 1980s and one of the best of all time.
Hmm.
Track 1, The Queen is Dead.
Instrumentally and vocally, this song was really good. I really
Mm.
enjoyed it. But a bit of a hot take, it dragged on a bit.
I disagree. I think the song stays entertaining throughout the whole length of this song. It's a very tongue in cheek kind of commentary of just British media culture and just the royal family and all things kind of to do with British media.
I like that
It's
whole aspect of this album
yeah,
that's very like satirical and is
yeah.
poking fun at
Hmm.
a lot of like just like popular things at the time.
Yeah, and the drum beat is on this is just iconic. It's such a great drum beat. And lyrically, I think it's one of the most entertaining Smith songs ever made. Um, the guitar just kind of explodes and bursts all over the song, and the bass guitar on this is really underrated. It's an amazing bass guitar song. Like the bass almost sounds aggressive. It sounds kind of angry, whereas the rest of the song is a
Ooh,
bit
he's
more upbeat.
angry.
The bass is. So yeah, rating.
I gave it a 9.
I give it a 10.
Next track, frankly, Mr. Shankly, and quite frankly, this is my favorite track on the album.
And Louis would probably have something to say if he was here, but he's not here. And it's one of my favorites as well. the song was inspired about how the band was unhappy being with Rough Trade Records, and it was kind of a satirical jab at I think it was the head of Rough Trade.
Yeah, something
Um,
like that.
yeah, the narrator of the song kind of just wants to fulfill all his ambitions, no matter how self-indulgent they are. The song, I think, sounds unique on the album. It has this very upbeat sound.
Yeah,
Kind of sounds
it's
almost like a Kink song.
like the instrumentation on it was great. It was very humorous, and at times it would be depressing as shit.
Hmm.
Like I that's it's it. I've not much else to say. It's my favorite track on the album.
Yeah, like the lyrics and the beat like go incredibly well together. I think it stops the song from being too serious.
Hmm.
The guitar breakdown between the verses, I think, sound completely different to the verses. They kind of freshen up the song and stop it from getting too monotonous. And I just think this is an amazing song.
I gave it a 10.
I also give it a 10.
Next track, I Know It's Over. I thought it was a great track. I thought instrumentally, vocally, and lyrically,
Mm.
it was great. But another hot take, it dragged on a small bit.
I don't know if it dragged on. I think the only problem I really have with this track and the following track is they kind of slowed the album down. Um, and although like they're both amazing tracks, I don't think they kind of live up to the excitement of some of the other tracks on this album. I do think this is a really great track. It's a stripped back ballad carried by Morrissey's vocal. It's kind of built upon this stripped back drum beat and just very minor instrumentation, and with a bit more guitar coming in as the song progresses. The lyrics, I think, on this are iconic. Like any Smiths fan would instantly recognize them. They're not quite as good as some of the other songs on the album. Not quite as entertaining, but still very incredibly well written track, well crafted track, and an amazing little strip back ballad.
I gave the track a 9.
Also a 9.
Next track,
Never had no one ever.
it's another very depressing shit track.
Hmm.
Amazing instrumentation again. Like that's I love the instrumentation on this whole album.
Yeah, it's the instrumentation is just incredible. The thing is that especially Johnny Marr, the guitarist, did on this and on other Smiths albums is just it won't be forgotten. One of the best guitar albums of all time. One of the best guitar bands of all time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, this song is similar in style to the previous track. I kind of tend to group these two tracks together when I listen to the album. They're kind of the more mellow tracks. I think they're pretty much on par overall. Um, I think what the other song lacks kind of instrumentally, this one has better instrumentals than the other track. I Know It's Over definitely has better lyrics in my opinion. This one kind of lacks a bit lyrically, but I think they're both really good tracks.
I gave this track a 9.
9.
Next track, Cemetery Gates. This one is definitely one of the more livelier tracks in the album, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Once again, a very tongue-in-cheek track, and with the title like Cemetery Gates, you wouldn't really expect like this song to sound so like breezy and carefree, and it kind of seems like a jab at people calling his music too depressing. He's just like, oh, especially the opening line. Opening line, it's very like, what was the opening line again? Uh,
Shit,
I dreaded sunny days. So, um,
that
yeah,
says a lot.
so yeah, it kind of very carefree song, but with like depressing lyrics, just to kind of make a jab at people calling his music too depressing.
Yeah. I don't really have
Um,
much notes on this song or the rest of the track list, to be honest. I think I was very sleepy, like listening to this
mm.
album. But quite frankly, it was good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lyrics on this that also talk about plagiarism. I don't quite understand the references there. I'd have to look into that. I think the song sounds amazing though, and it has some like really great and catchy lyrics. And it's another 10 for me.
I gave it a 9.
Next track is the lead single.
Big
Big
Mouth
Mouth
Strikes
strikes
Again.
again.
I watched Big Mouth before too. It was okay.
um, it's
I
another
thought.
very tongue-in-cheek. I'll go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I insist. I have like no notes on this song.
No, you go ahead.
Great instrumentation. Next. No, I liked it. I thought the instrumentation was very good on it. That's pretty much all the notes that I have. I was
Oh,
very.
I've
I'm
plenty.
sorry.
Don't
I'm
worry.
sorry. I was very sleepy listening to this album.
It's okay. I have a lot of notes. I love this album. It's another very tongue-in-cheek song, which is kind of the song is about saying something out of line by accident, something that you shouldn't have said. Well, that's what it seems like at first, but then you like quickly realize that Morrissey isn't really sorry, and he's just knows what he was saying. He's saying what he meant. He's just kind of sarcastically apologizing. It has some really iconic lyrics, like the line, "Now I know how Joan of Arc felt as the flames rose to her Roman nose and her Walkman started to melt." I feel like that's probably like the most famous
That's
Smiths
clever
line.
though. That's
Yeah.
very fucking clever.
The guitars on this are incredible, amazing guitars. Like very fast paced and chaotic drum beat. Just really iconic riff as well in the pre-chorus. I think it's
Yeah.
just one of the great songs of all time. I think, incredible song.
I
Easy
gave it
10.
a I gave it a 9.
Oh no.
Wait,
Let's
was
move on.
this Wait, was this Big Mouth Strikes Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 9.
Oh Jesus. Let's move on.
I'm sorry, lad. All right, next
uh,
track, The Boy with a Thorn in His Side. I thought this is one of my favorite tracks in the album. Again, the instrumentation was absolutely fantastic, vocally and lyrically. Again, it was very good.
yeah. A lot more of a calm song after the last one. I think the guitars are really gentle and they sound almost ethereal in a way. And I think the lyrics are also really interesting. It's kind of portraying Morrissey as the boy, and the thorn in his side is kind of like the music industry, and he's just kind of spilling his guts about how he just wants people to love his music and appreciate his music, but he feels like there's the music industry is just against him and stopping him, and there's people who just are out for blood when it comes to him. So vocal performance, I think one of the best on the albums. He just sounds really good on this track. I think it's another amazing, incredible classic track, and it's another 10 for me.
It is a 10 for me.
Next song is Vicar in a Tutu.
Now, this one was my least favorite track on the album, but it was fine. I liked the whole theme of like poking fun at the church,
Mm,
like in reference to the title itself, Vicar in Tutu, as in like the Archbishop Tutu. Like it was cool. I thought instrumentally it was nice, and lyrically, vocally, it was good again. I thought I don't know. I think it was kind of I don't know. I felt it was a bit boring, to be honest.
I thought it was like a very upbeat and cheery song. Kind of, it did take stabs at the Catholic Church, but it wasn't in a very serious way. I don't think it might be like the most fun sounding song on this album. Um, and the lyrics are cool, and it's kind of about how
Hmm.
religion shouldn't stop people from doing whatever they want, especially if it's something harmless like wearing a fucking tutu. Yeah. Um, I think I love this song. Love the feel of it. Love the words, everything. I love this. It's 10.
I gave it a 9.
Okay, now this is I don't know what Louis was on about because this is probably the most famous Smith song.
There is a light
Um,
that never goes out.
yeah, it's probably the most iconic Smith song.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's my favorite Smith song. All in all, it's
I
a
liked it.
beautiful song.
I thought it was very good. It was beautiful.
Yeah, the lyrics are really poignant, and just the balance between Morrissey's just amazing vocals and Mars' incredible guitar work on this song. They just blend so well together on this track.
Hmm.
The lyrics are depressing. It's kind of sounds like Morrissey just doesn't feel welcome anymore. Nowhere is home anymore. And at this point in his life, all he really wants is to at least die happy and die beautiful death.
I don't blame him. Very poetic.
Very poetic indeed. Amazing track, 10 out of 10.
10 for me as well.
Hell yeah. And
Final
last track.
track, Some Girls. Now, this song, I believe you were saying it's about a certain feminine feature.
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, I think this is one of the most underrated Smith songs. I think the guitar on this is amazing, 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 and it's one of the best guitar songs in their catalog, and probably one of the best guitar songs of all time. And I guess you could kind of dig into the title a bit, but there's no real alternate meaning. It's about boobs. It just is. But I don't think it's kind of in a. I think it's kind of performed in a dismissive way, as in Morrissey's kind of saying, "Yeah, some girls have big boobs, some don't. Can we talk about something interesting for once?" It's kind of a
Yeah,
satirical approach on like a topic that seems to be talked about way too much.
yeah. To be fair,
Yeah,
it's like it's like a jab at the stereotypical. You could say man as well, something like that.
yeah. Like even the lyrics, like from the Ice Age, like there's one concern: some girls are bigger than others. Like why? Like throughout generations, this is a prominent thing people are actually care about, whereas it really does not matter in the grand scheme of things. There's definitely more interesting things to talk about. Yes, some girls are bigger than others.
Yeah, exactly.
Mostly
I
for the
gave
guitar
this.
work,
Yeah, sorry. Go
10.
ahead.
10 for the guitar work mostly.
Guitar work is fantastic. I gave it a 9.
Um, Overall ratings and opinions.
A light 9.
Um,
Like this was the first Smiths album that I listened to. It was a really nice introduction to their music. I'm sure this is like, would you consider this like entry level Smiths, or
I yeah, it's definitely like their magnum opus in a way.
like, I'd say it will definitely grow on me with time because, like, as I said before, I was really sleepy listening to this album and I didn't really jot down as much notes as I should have. But definitely with a few more listens, I could grow to appreciate this album and maybe give it a higher score. Like,
I'll give you a end of it on the vinyl, and we'll see.
ooh, lovely when I get my record player. Also,
um,
also another thing, just to summarize this, I'm kind of disappointed that the Queen didn't actually die. So
Very sad. She will. What age is she? Like 400 now.
I remember seeing someone on Album of the Year say, "I'm definitely gonna fucking jam out to this when the Queen actually dies." I
um,
don't blame you, whoever wrote
Probably
that.
gonna live another 500 years. She's hardly even human.
Yeah, she's transcended fucking life. She's an alien.
Reptilian.
She's a
Um,
reptilian type creature that still somehow survives off the blood of her victims. Those being from the money from the NHS.
um, Once again, I'll listen to this when the Queen dies. I'll also jam out. I'll join you whenever that
Yes.
may be. This is, I think, in my opinion, one of the best albums of all time. Uh, just defined a sound in the 80s that is hard to replicate this day. To this day, definitely put Manchester on the map worldwide, the music map. There
Hmm.
were some great artists that came out of Manchester in the years after this. The Stone Roses, Oasis, and it just kind of started here, maybe with Joy Division, but the Smiths were definitely more popular at the time when they were making music. Um, Very amazing lyrics, very tongue in cheek throughout the whole album.
Isn't Morrissey supposed to be coming out with a new project?
Oh, he's been coming out with a project every year, and every year it's just been getting less and less interesting.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he did some good solo stuff after the Smiths disbanded, like in the late 80s, early 90s. These days, he's just fucking kind of lost his marbles.
Okay, fair enough. No wonder
Yeah,
JPEG Mafia wants him dead.
he's a bit of a twat.
Fair
Let's just put it
enough.
that way. Um, just the lyrics on this are brilliant, very tongue in cheek. The guitar work is incredible. Like if there's one standout thing on this album, it's definitely the guitar work. Although there is more than one standout thing. Um, The bass and the drums are also criminally underrated, especially the bass. This is a great bass album. I think this is the Smiths at their most focused, at their most brilliant, and I think this is their magnum opus. This is the definitive Smiths album, and for me, it's a 10.
All right, that's it. We did it.
Yeah, we did a.
We were finally able to record a decent episode.
I'll quickly go over the albums that we'll be talking about in the next episode, which will come out on. We'll record it on Wednesday, so it might come out Wednesday, might come out Thursday, depends how
If
busy I am.
anything changes, that means we're all dead.
Yeah, or just the audio got messed up.
Yeah.
So on January 26th, we will be reviewing Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By.
Ooh, can't wait.
Bombay Bicycle Club, Everything Else Has Gone Wrong. Mac Miller, Circles.
Yay!
And our classic album, which Louis is very happy about, is, and so am I, Hounds of Love by Kate Bush.
I actually can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time with Louis back. Once again, rest in peace, David.
R.I.P. Right to
Didn't
homie.
die, but
like he's gone but not forgotten from the podcast.
The podcast died a little when he left.
Yeah.
But we'll keep going. The show must go on.
All right.
So yeah.
Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Taped Podcast. If you're interested in keeping up with us, please consider subscribing. We've hopefully got more podcasts coming soon.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, okay. We got the links in the description to our Patreon, to our own channels, our Album of the Year page, our Rate Your Music page, etc. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. Peace.
We actually did it. Thank God.
We did it. Holy shit. I have to cut one thing out, but that's.
You just got to cut out the part where I left.
Yeah, and then sync it up. So.
All right, I'm exporting the file.